County Commissioner meeting for July 30th, 2018 is now in session. Would you stand, gentlemen, and pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good morning. To my right is Vice President Commissioner Barb Lewis. To my left is fellow Commissioner Jeff Benton. Administrator today, Mike Fromer, and our clerk, Jennifer Walraven today.
Resolution number 18-838 in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from a regular meeting held July 26, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 18-838. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We do not have any public comment or elected official comment today, so that brings us to item number 4, resolution number 18-839, in the matter of approving purchase orders and now certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CM APR 0727 and memo transfers in batch number MT APR 0727.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 18-839. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-840, in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 18-840. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-841, in the matter of accepting the treasurer's report for the month of June 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Yeah, I just want to mention the yield on the portfolio is up to 1.83%, and it continues to rise, and that provides a nice increase in revenue stream to the county with its the county and the related agencies that we manage the money for. Star, Ohio is at 1.99, which is overnight funding.
Wow.
So, a couple of years ago, that was at 0.3. So we've seen a real nice increase, which really helps our investment portfolio yields. So that's all I got.
What do you think the Fed will do?
They're going to continue
Continue.
to
I
gradually increase rates.
think they should.
They've made it pretty clear, but very slowly,
Uh-huh.
not too dramatic, so.
I think they'll manage the process pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
Vote.
Vote on motion 18-841. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-842, in the matter of approving right-of-way work permit summary sheets.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 18-842. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 18-843, a resolution of necessity to levy an additional tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the Delaware County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Benton, second by Commissioner Lewis. Discussion.
Good morning. My name is Christine Hodge. I'm the superintendent at the Delaware County Board of Developmental Disabilities. Good morning, Commissioner Lewis, Commissioner Merrill, Commissioner Benton, Mr. Frommer. I come before you today representing the Delaware County Board of Developmental Disabilities to request a 0.4 mil continuous additional levy for the Delaware County Board of DD and the people we serve. In front of you is a packet of information that point by point will summarize why we think that this is a necessity for our agency. I will keep this brief, but I think there's some important highlights here. We serve about 2,500 people in the county. Recently, we received a 3-year accreditation award from the state of Ohio, which is actually the highest you can achieve. We increased community employment for our adults served by 10% last year. Our enrollment has increased from 2011 to 2017 at an average of 3% each year. And the average population, people with disabilities, are 1 to 3%. So we're on the high end. And 79% of the people we serve are children. There's a graph showing our enrollment numbers, which confirms the 3% increase each year. And then we have enrollment by age group. And you can see as we go through, every age group is increasing, with the adults increasing at a good rate. So what happens is our services are lifelong, and while folks are childhood age, the services cost much less. And when they go into adulthood, they increase substantially. So I just want to talk a moment about referral data, because I think how we receive our referrals, it's very important to our community to understand that. So we did a study for the last 9 months when people coming into the Delaware County Board of DD requesting services, why are they here? How did they come to move to Delaware County? And so as we did that, we had 87 new referrals in a 9-month period. The majority of people, 22 referrals, moved for the schools. The next amount moved because they relocated for work. I can absolutely relate to that. We have people that move closer to their family. And then one of the interesting ones is 13 referrals, which is 15% moved for our services. And I have no data to tell you that that's up or down from previous years, but I do believe when you look at all of the reasons people move into Delaware, we're probably part of the puzzle, but we are not the chief reason. When I came before the commissioners in 2015, we talked about administrative cost versus cost to serve people. And on one of the graphs I have, you can see that in 2017, our cost for services is 86% of our budget, and the administrative cost is 14%. If I compare that just to last year, our costs for services were 79%, and our administrative costs were 21%. So we are continually looking at our administrative costs and our service costs and trying to narrow down the administrative costs and build up the service costs to people. Any questions so far? Okay. If you look at the page that talks about our budget overview, and it's titled Expenses versus Total Services, we are able to leverage Medicaid money and provide more services into the community. So this graph shows you that we have almost $25 million of services in our community, which far exceeds our budget, and that's how we leverage Medicaid funds. We pay 40% of every dollar rather than 100% services when we leverage Medicaid and waiver funds. So not a lot of counties can say that we actually have more services in the community than our actual annual budget. We have a graph that talks about what our costs, how our cost breakdown is. It's a circle, like a pie chart graph in a way. And there it'll tell you, kind of verifying that about 86% of the budget is spent on people served, and then the 14% is the actual administrative cost. When you look at our revenue sources graph, it'll show you that our levy funding represents almost 74% of our budget. So all the county boards in the state of Ohio do have levies. That's how we exist to serve. And for Delaware County, it's 74. There's a small amount of money that comes from a couple of grants and different kinds of revenue, but the majority is through our tax dollars here in Delaware County. So the request for the new levy, the 0.4 mil continuous levy, it would generate about $3.1 million, and that's based on 2017 assessed values. The cost to the taxpayer would be $14 per year based on a home evaluation of $100,000. That's additional cost. And we have a levy timeline for the commissioners for you all to understand what we're looking at. Right now we have 2 existing levies, both expire in 2020. We are plan to allow the 0.56 mil levy to expire. Ask for this mill to be continuous as our services are lifelong and don't decrease for people. As people get older, cost increases exponentially. And then we would have our 2.1 mil renewal, which we will reevaluate in 2020 for 21. When looking at the significance of our services and what the cost is to serve people, there's a graph that I have here that shows how much it costs to serve a school-age child, which is about $2,100. That's on average. And to serve an adult, on average, it's $16,000. So because we're at 79% children, you can imagine that people are going to grow into adulthood and what that's going to look like. The next document that you have tells you a little more about that, and it shows you of existing people that we have right now that we are serving, how many will be turning into the adulthood and what that's going to cost us. And those costs don't go away. They just keep multiplying year after year after year. And these are only people that we know. People come to us also for lots of other reasons. Sometimes they never had services and the family realizes they need us. Sometimes the family moves, and of course, the adult child comes with them. So when you look across this, you can see the next 5 years, 159 children will move to adulthood, and we will be serving them. And so that's this graph here, and it's as accurate as you can be on what that's going to look like for us, not counting new people. So for us, when we look at the benefits of a .4 mil continuous levy, we look at the fact that we serve people throughout their lifespan. We serve them from early intervention, through school age, on through adulthood. And so because the need is continuous and actually grows as people get older, so does the need for funding. This will allow us to have a long-term and stable funding stream for folks, and it allows us to prepare for future growth and demand as our county continues to grow. So as we grow here, people with disabilities, it's a natural thing that happens. We're going to grow with who we serve. And it allow us, as we did a very comprehensive long-term fiscal forecast, this will allow us to continue to plan for the future and to serve people in the future. I'd be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Questions? Mr. Benton?
Not really any questions. Chris and Jared and I spent a lot of time going through the levy request and the different alternatives being considered, and I want to thank them for doing some really good, robust financial analysis and projecting. It really helped me to understand, just how things are, where things are going, and I think you've laid it out very well. I think I understand that it makes sense to have a continuous levy, versus a levy, two levies that would renew at the same time. That presents certain challenges. I understand that. So I think a .4 continuous with the .56 expiring in 2020. I think that makes sense, and with the with the revenue, we're fortunate that we live in a county. Yes, the services, the need for services are growing, but the revenue is growing too. The property tax revenue, which is the main source of funding, is growing very nicely, which is enormously helpful to address those increased service needs. So again, I think it makes sense to make that trade-off, collect more over the next couple of years, and then let that larger levy expire and have a more reliable revenue stream going forward. So I think you've done a good job of doing that. And again, I think you've done a really nice job, the whole team has, of developing promoting a number of financial incentives, to make things more efficient, looking at new ways of doing business and leading the way on that, and saving money and being very fiscally prudent. So I want to compliment you on that as well. So that's really it. Again, I think they've done a really nice job in analyzing the numbers in great detail. Thanks, Jared, for all the hard work on looking at the various alternatives and coming up with, I think, a very pragmatic approach to funding, reliable funding. And so I intend to vote to support this going forward.
First of all, the presentation is excellent, very easy to read and very well presented and very professional. You mentioned net increase from 2011 to 17 was 23%. What are the main factors for that?
It's just growth. As our population grows in Delaware County, people we serve grow, and so families come in. They have children that are eligible. Other counties that aren't as growing as us, they don't see this increase in enrollment.
So, it's just overall.
It's the overall county growth, right? And it was interesting, when I came before you in 15, it was 3.8% was the increase. Now it's 3% for the look back time, about 5-7 years. So, it's kind of evened out a little bit, but I think we're still going to see a pretty steady growth because we still have all the new development, people moving into the county. It's just naturally going to occur.
Yes.
Yeah, as our population increases, the people with disabilities, that increases as well.
Do you see any type of differences as far as the people you're helping then, as far as their disabilities go, as far as the problems that they might encounter?
You know, it's pretty much,
Yeah.
it's about everything,
Okay.
right? And we see them come in through the front door, early intervention mostly, and we still have the same phenomena happens. So early intervention is birth to 3. When children reach that 3rd birthday, we lose half of the kids. They're no longer eligible because early intervention works. And the same phenomena happens at 6 because we're working with them and we're helping with the therapies and those sorts of things. Then about half of them don't need our services either. But once, they hit 6 and then we reevaluate at 16, that trend kind of settles down a little bit.
Okay.
So, but there's still enough coming in the front door that you can see through our enrollment numbers.
Sure.
It continues to increase.
Okay, thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
definitely supportive.
I did have one other thing I want to mention. The DD has some reserves, but it's not multiple years of reserves, multiple
Right.
years of operating expenses in their reserves. I think it's a prudent level, which I think we all agree makes sense, unlike another levy that we recently saw that had multiple years of cash reserves on top of their levy.
Right, and I can comment to that. We have 3 reserve accounts that we set aside in 2017. One was for Medicaid match, because we're responsible to have 1 year of Medicaid match in our reserves. So again, that is how we leverage that federal and state dollar to provide services in the community. And then we had a capital improvement fund, which, we have a rather large facility, and so we need to make sure that that is kept up. And then we have a severance fund. We try to plan for staff retirements and those sorts of things, because sometimes, those can come in a group, and if you're not expecting that and you don't have the funds year to year, you kind of have to dig other places. So we set aside those 3 reserve accounts last year, and it has served us well, because as you all know, we had the roof, we replaced our roof, and we also had a lot of retirements last year. And so we are, as needed and as appropriate, looking into those reserve accounts and making sure. But the Medicaid is the greatest reserve account we have. Are we about 5.7 million now in our Medicaid reserve account?
5.7?
Million, But again, that doesn't even cover a 1-year Medicaid match yet. That doesn't even cover it.
Again, so I want to compliment you on managing those reserves to appropriate levels, not excessive levels.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Well, obviously, I support as well. We have also spoken. Just a couple of observations. 21 to 14% on administrative, that's fantastic. I think the county is very lucky that you're here leading this organization, and I commend your board. I've done that in the past. I think you have an outstanding board, and we have outstanding leadership. You did make a comment, a rather large facility is a statement that is certainly accurate, and how we got there is irrelevant at this point, but it is something that needs to be addressed in some form, whatever that means, down the road, and I think you're aware of that as well. So, but based on the fact you made that quote, I thought I'd at least reinforce it. I fully support it. I think the only other thing I would suggest, I assume we're doing it, is administrative costs are down. I hope we're also putting the same, asking for the same fiscal restraint on the part of suppliers of services as well. So just an observation comment, but I do support the levy. Okay. Vote?
Vote on motion 18-843. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thanks.
Resolution number 18-844, in the matter of accepting the award of the 2018 Ohio Department of Public Safety Division of EMS Emergency Medical Services Grant for the training of personnel and the purchase of equipment used for training and education.
So moved.
Second,
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. Chief Schuling, County EMS. As you're aware, earlier this year, we applied to the Ohio Department of Public Safety's Division of EMS for the grant that is funded through the seatbelt fines. Each year, we apply to this grant. This year, we receive more than we typically do. In the past, we received anywhere from $1,500 to $3,500. This year, we're really pleased and excited to recommend your approval to receive the $5,187. This money is a non-matched grant. There'll be nothing coming out of the county. This is what we use to fund all of our CPR outreach programs, recognizing that this is to facilitate education, not just necessarily in EMS, but to reduce traumatic death. So the more people we have on the streets that can issue CPR or do CPR, as well as utilize AEDs, we know that that first line defense is truly what's saving lives. So incorporating all of that with the vastness of our outreach programs, I recommend that you accept this money. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Vote.
Vote on motion 18-844. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Before you walk away, the event we had in Delaware City yesterday, I know that your department is involved in that. I just-
Yes, sir.
Comments, observations you want to make?
It went really well. Considering the size of the event, certainly Ironman has that well ironed out, no pun intended, and to the point where it runs very, very smoothly. Did have some incidents. Anytime you have an event of that magnitude, certainly will have issues, but the weather was nice. It held out for us. Medically speaking, in the past, it's been much hotter than what it was, and that changes the route and other issues with medical problems, but it went really well. Our crew worked well with, our department worked well with the other departments where it encompassed those racers, and it was great. I didn't have to do anything, so that's always a good day when I don't have to actually go to the Emergency Operations Center, so that it went really well.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Resolution number 18-845, in the matter of certification of delinquent accounts to the county auditor for accounts to be assessed to payable year 2019 taxes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
Morning, Commissioners. Tiffany Mag with the Regional Sewer District. Per resolution, we certified the delinquent accounts to taxes anytime they are past 90 days due and exceed $25. So this quarter, we are certifying a little over $142,000, and that is in line with what we've historically certified to the accounts. It's been roughly about 4.5% of the accounts that we have on hand, and currently this one is 4.53. So we recommend your approval.
Any questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 18-845. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill? Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. Thank you, Tiffany.
Tiffany.
Resolution number 18-846, in the matter of approving a supplemental appropriation for administrative services.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
Good morning, Dawn Houston, Deputy Administrator. I'm recommending your approval of this resolution, which would supplement our flexible spending account that we have for the county. We had an increase in participation by about 35 employees, and due to that, as well as the 2017 carryover claims, we're running a little short. So I'm hopeful that we can supplement and get through the remainder of the year.
That evens out at the end of the year, doesn't it?
It does. It's an in and out fund. There is an administrative fee each month for our participation, but essentially it is a fund that employees place their funds in, and then we pay from there.
For the record, I wanted to make that statement so that everybody understood that.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 18-846. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 18-847, in the matter of approving supplemental appropriation for the Scott number 604 lateral number 2 drainage improvement project.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
Good morning. This is Karen Furst, Fiscal Manager. This supplemental is for the board approved the resolution 18-816 on the maintenance and assessment for the Scott Lateral project. This supplemental will return overpayments that people made upfront, and it will cover the first year maintenance costs set up. The reimbursements equal $7,477.35, and the maintenance cost is $7,500.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 18-847. Mr. Merrill? Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. Thank you.
Resolution number 18-848, in the matter of appointing a county sanitary engineer.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Fromer, County Administrator. The resolution before you is to appoint Tiffany Mag as the County Sanitary Engineer. The County Sanitary Engineer is really responsible for the technical design and following the requirements established by the regional sewer district. So, and she will be relieving me of those duties as well. So.
That's the real reason, be honest.
She's going to join a very illustrious group. You know, we all dream of becoming a sanitary engineer when we grow up, so.
I didn't know what to say about that, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to comment. Yeah. Any questions or comments?
I'd like to just thank Mike and the whole team
Yes.
for, creating the leadership transition that has allowed us to make this change. And congratulations to Tiffany for her well-earned recognition. So.
It is well-deserved, and I have no doubt that our sewer district remains in very good hands under Mike's tutelage. And I agree, it's enabled us to move Mike up to county administrator, where it seems we're keeping him kind of busy. But Tiffany, you deserve this honor, and thank you so much for your hard work.
One other thing, you have to promise not to play softball. Okay?
Why is that?
Tore up his knee over the weekend. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Well, I won't be on it this year.
All right.
Oh,
Thank you
really?
for your kind comments. Sorry. So anyone who's not aware, I tore my left knee up this weekend. I've got to deal with that now, so.
You didn't know that.
Anyway,
Be careful.
I just want to say that obviously the commissioners think highly of the job the environmental services has done, and that includes the two of you, and we really alluded to that in our comments last week. And us, the development community, I think everybody, users of our service, if they really knew what was going on a day-to-day basis, and they just, we would all take that service for granted. You pay your bill, you get the service, and but I think we're very fortunate to have the new leadership, the group we have, the two of you, obviously, and everyone else that's sitting in this room, and everyone that wasn't here. So just appreciate all that's being done and will be done in the future. Thank you very much. If there's no other comments, vote.
Vote on motion 18-848. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
That brings us to administrative reports. Mr. Frommer.
Before we get to reports, we have a letter, a sanitary sewer letter that I believe, Jennifer, there's a resolution for that, correct?
Yes, I have a
do?
resolution.
It's not here. Is it under other business or? It's in the back.
Yeah, it's the gray one, the grayed out area there. I don't have the letter.
Okay.
I have a resolution for the letter.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I apologize. I missed it because, so go ahead. Did you have any comments?
The commissioners, you'd received a letter from the Berkshire Township trustees, just, wanting to, had some questions about the sanitary sewer service to their residents and some of the past work that the sewer district has done. And, we put together a letter, and I think all the commissioners have seen it, that just pretty much talks through the extreme support that the commissioners have provided, in working through some of the issues that Nationwide was experiencing at North Star. Also coming up with a long-range plan and investing a lot of in the master plan to be able to service. I mean, we're able to today be able to service Planet Oasis with our current long-range plan, which is pretty, exciting. And I think that, like I said, the letter just kind of provides some of that information to them, and, just so they understand maybe some of the work that's being done behind the scenes to help the residents over there.
Right. No, I think it's a good idea to send the letter. A lot of changes have happened, will be happening, and it's best to clarify that for the citizens and the trustees of Berkshire.
Any other comments? The only thing I would add is one-on-one conversations are always a good thing, so I would hope there will be a follow-up that will verbally correct whatever the misunderstandings are, and as one letter responds to another letter, so I'm sure we'll be doing that anyway. If there's no other comments, vote.
Well, I have to read the resolution number first. That's resolution number 18-849, in the matter of approving a sanitary sewer service letter to the Berkshire Township Board of Trustees.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Lewis, second by Commissioner Benton. Discussion. I believe we've already done that. Vote.
Vote on motion 18-849. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
We do have an item for other business, if we'd like to address that before we go into comments. Resolution number 18-850, in the matter of canceling the Commissioners' session for Monday, August 6th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. No discussion. Let's just leave it at that. Everybody doesn't want to.
Vote on motion 18-850. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Very good. Now that brings us to administrative report.
I just have one thing under my report today. I would just like to congratulate Chris Hodge as well on the, we have a very wise commissioner that says all the time that we're, because of the growth, we're transitioning from a rural to a suburb community. And with that, growth requires changing the way we look at doing things. And clearly, Chris and her team have done that at DD. And, once again, the biggest point you made in your presentation was preparing for the growth. So I think it's a good model that as we look to prepare for that future. So just want to congratulate her and her team. So
Preparing for the growth and being fiscally responsible in that growth. And
Right.
anything else?
that's it. That's it.
Commissioner Lewis.
Let's see, we had a regional planning meeting, Delaware Regional Planning meeting Thursday night. It was quite lengthy. However, different issues were resolved, and so we moved on. And that's all I have to report.
Okay. Commissioner Benton.
Thursday night, and I wasn't able to go to the regional planning because I went to the Penn Taste of Powell event at the zoo, and that was actually very well attended. There were 600 tickets sold.
Really?
Steady stream of people and 20-some restaurants represented, so it was very well done. We handed out a lot of pin flyers. The Little Brown Jog, if anybody is interested in jogging on the Fairgrounds racetrack, that's September 1st, and that's kind of a cool thing.
Fundraiser for PIN.
Fundraiser.
How many laps is that around the track?
Well, actually, they just end
Okay.
with a lap on
You
the.
start there and then
Yeah.
go off on the other side.
Yeah, but you get your picture taken with a horse, so that could be fun, it could be not fun, hard telling. Legislative session on Friday, a couple interesting things that were mentioned by Representatives Carfagna and Brenner, who I want to thank them for their work and for regularly attending this session, keeping us up to date. Apparently email, I don't know if, Eric, have you heard about this, but emails are now acceptable as a form of communication in addition to mail. Just in general? Yeah. Now, I don't know the specifics, so this could impact Jennifer as well. So if you have a valid email address, apparently that's now acceptable as an alternative for sending out registered mail. Not sure of the exact details, but it was one of the topics I mentioned. And also, the prosecutor's office now has the ability to represent the Finance Authority and regional planning. Yes, yeah. So I guess that's a change from the previous. So again, I think that allows the prosecutors to continue to support additional jurisdictions within the county, which I think is a good thing. We've got a land bank organizational meeting Thursday of this week. I wanted to mention that we are officially the 11th happiest county in the country.
Oh, yes, that's right.
That was publicized again over the weekend, and that's always good to be recognized as happy. I'm sure Commissioner Merrill wasn't quite so happy this weekend, but and then lastly and most important, today is my mom's birthday, so happy birthday to my mom.
Well, with that, my grandson's birthday is today, too.
How about that? Great people born on this day.
I really, happy, it probably drops from 11 to 12 with my weekend, right? I have one thing. Steve Cockler asked to meet with us in session to talk about US 23 master plan. And I asked Sarah to coordinate with him, and they came up with the date of August 13th. So Steve and whoever he brings with him will be here that day and represent Delaware Now for that purpose. So just so you can make note of that.
And I do have one more thing, I recall.
Go right ahead.
This afternoon at 2 o'clock, we are meeting with the Taft firm to talk about what we need to do as a county to calculate any costs that we have incurred as a result of the opiate epidemic. And so they'll be advising us on that. Some counties in the city of Cleveland, too, are bellwether venues, so they will have to provide more information, but I want to make sure that we're prepared to have any figures that they would need for the lawsuit. So David Butler, who is the managing partner of Taft, will be here along with Mr. Conkler, so he's involved in many things.
Yeah, he'll be at that meeting instead of the meeting that he originally was going to be involved in at the same time.
Right,
So-
that's right,
But I'll be at
yes.
that meeting regarding
Yeah.
36, 37. If there's nothing else, I believe we have need for executive session.
Resolution number 18-851, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of compensation of a public employee or public official.
So moved.
Second,
Motion made and seconded, discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 18-851. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
aye. Okay.
Resolution number 18-852, in the matter of adjourning out of executive session.
So moved.
Second,
Motion made and seconded, discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 18-852. Mr. Merrill? Mrs. Lewis?
aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
If there is no other business to bring before us, we are adjourned.